Welcome to the OP Overwatch podcast, a show where we discuss news, content, character, strategy, and general opinions for Blizzard Entertainment's brand new team-based multiplayer first-person shooter, Overwatch. I'm your host, Jam, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jeff. How you doing, man?
Fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So the purpose of the podcast is to kind of discuss Overwatch. If you're listening to this right now, you probably have a general idea of what the game is, unless you accidentally stumbled into an Overwatch podcast. Don't know why that would happen. But yeah, at the time of this recording, the game is actually not out yet. We've only tried the beta. So I figured we could kind of start there and talk about, some of our opinions and what we enjoyed about the beta. But first, a little background on us. Both Jeff and I are avid gamers. We were both game testers at EA Games years back. And me personally, I generally lean more towards the fighting games, platformers, RPGs, your Final Fantasy, Super Smash Bros., Street Fighter. And for shooters, I really enjoyed Halo back in the day. Don't play a whole lot of them now, but that's one of the reasons I'm really excited about Overwatch, because it's a brand new shooter that I'm actually getting excited about. And how about you, Jeff?
Yeah. Well, as you said, we were both game testers at EA. Beyond that, my background in gaming it goes all the way back to the classic Blizzard games, Warcraft 2, StarCraft, Diablo, Vanilla WoW, but also some shooters, namely Counter-Strike 1.6 was a big hit when I was in college. And I know that that game had a big influence on the development of Overwatch, which just makes me even more excited to dive right into this.
I think it's safe to say that you're probably better than me at all of those games. I'm admittedly really bad.
You said it.
Yes, but what I like about this game is that it's Blizzard really jumping into a brand new genre, something completely different that they haven't done before. They're doing a first-person shooter. And they got a lot of criticism, I'm sure, at first. What are you doing making FPS? And, it was compared to Team Fortress. And, man, this beta came out, and a lot of opinions changed, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I heard it was 9.7 million was the last number I heard for the final open beta, which is an absurd number.
Oh, man, seriously.
And I mean, that was over like a 5-day period. So yeah, it's insane. And for a beta, I was shocked with how stable it seemed. I think some people had a little bit different experience on day one, maybe, but for the most part, I was pretty impressed with. I mean, it felt like a finished game, which is good since it's coming out a week later or 2 weeks later.
Yeah, but they get to kind of balance it out a little bit and everything.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I was so impressed with Blizzard, and really, it's pretty bold to open your beta up without making people pre-order or give you money first. I'll be honest, because of the time that I put into previous Blizzard games, I was avoiding this on purpose. I don't really have the time that I used to, and so I was not going to play this game until they opened up the beta for free, and I thought, I'll give it a shot. And within about 30 minutes, I remembered that it was Blizzard. So here we are.
Oh, you don't have time nowadays like you did back then? What, is your job and your family getting in the way?
Well, I have got time now. I made time. Yeah, I mean, you played as much of the beta as I did. I mean, what do you think, what stuck out to you in the beta as far as the actual gameplay? Like, what do you think they did really master here?
So right off the bat, it caught my interest, and you watch the videos and all the promotions for it and gameplay footage, and it looks great. But my biggest worry with the game was just that once it was released and once I got in and played, it was going to be like hype for maybe a day or two, and then that was it. I would just get sick of it and ultimately just not be good at it, because there's just so much skill out there when you're playing these online games.
Yeah.
But, man, within 3 to 4 matches, I was already having really, really, really good matches and doing very well, which was surprising. because the different characters and the way they play, like I said earlier, they're completely different from each other, and it's not all about being as accurate as possible and getting as many kills. They didn't put the focus on the kills. They made it objective based and about serving your team, and you play a role in that team.
Yeah, that's to me the genius decision by Blizzard was to try and make it different. I mean, you have characters that are those Twitch characters. I think Soldier 76 is put in the game just for everyone that still wants to pretend they're playing Call of Duty. He's actually the only character I didn't play in the beta, probably on principle. But regardless, I mean, besides the different characters and you know the way that they have different strengths and weaknesses, I think the other really smart thing Blizzard did was to make this about team play. I mean, my first reaction when I hit tab and it didn't show me a kill-death ratio was, how do I know how good I'm doing? Initially I was a little bit put off by it because I was like, I'm having a really good match, and now I'll never know how much better I'm doing than everyone else. But
and that's generally your way of like gauging yourself.
Right. I think that's what everyone does. And you know, I heard it put really well somewhere else that, you know, normally in a death match, basically all that means is a team death match means you can't kill half the people that are in the match because they're on your team, so to speak. So, you know, this is really about team play, and they don't show you kill death because they want you to actually help the team. So you can do that if you're not the best dead aim sniper in the world. You know, you can play a tank, you can play a healer, and you can serve a really unique purpose. So to me, after I had a few days to sit on it, I really love that there's not a kill death ratio or a traditional scoreboard. I mean, I think the highlights at the end of the match, well, the play of the game is a little bit Bastion heavy, but as far as the actual nominating process, I mean, they really do a good job of highlighting, you know, people that did the most healing or did different things to actually accomplish the objective. So to me, that's pretty special.
Yeah, and so going back to the characters, let's kind of just do since the only thing we really have to judge is the beta, and, you know, it's a beta, so clearly a lot can change, and, you know, anything we kind of discuss now could be completely different by the time the game's released. But what were some of the characters that really stood out to you that you really enjoyed while you played the beta for those few days?
Well, what really impressed me, this isn't a cop-out answer, but all the characters are fun to play. I mean, it's incredible that they've made all these different characters that do different things and play so differently. And, you know, I'm not upset if I join a game and I'm the last person in and it says your team doesn't have a tank or doesn't have a support. I'm good with that. I'll play whatever they need me to play. You know, again, it goes back to team objectives and you know, doing what's best for the team and filling a role. And it sure helps if you're not upset when you have to play a support because there's 2 or 3 supports that you're anxious to play. So, you know, for the characters, I think the balance was pretty striking. But as far as characters I was leaning towards, I tried to go... I guess I would say I tried to go towards the characters that struck me as having the highest ceiling, not necessarily the easiest ones to jump right on, but characters that seem like they could develop and be more powerful over time. So I mean, everyone knows Tracer is you know, off the walls crazy, but once you get up to speed with her, she's pretty awesome. Genji, another character with his double jump and wall climbing. You know, the sky's the limit for him. I can't wait to see some highlights down the road. I played some Lucio, played some Zarya, which I really liked. And I think Winston is the one that towards the end of the beta, I played a little bit of him, but now that it's over and I've had some time to sit and think and have some withdrawals, I think Winston is probably going to be one of the first ones I play at launch, just because the mobility for a tank like that, the idea of it excites me in a group setting.
Winston is actually one of those that was when all the heroes were announced, you know, they had their character trailers and all of their abilities. I definitely had a few on the top of my list that I was very excited to try. Tracer, as you mentioned, was definitely at the top of that list. McCree looked really good, and Hanzo as well. He just looked like a really fun and interesting character, being one of the few that can wall climb and be very mobile. But then once the beta was released and I tried it out, I was actually very surprised because I kind of glommed onto characters that were barely on my radar. Winston was one of them. I had a lot of fun with him.
Yeah, and his ultimate is it can be a game changer if used at the right time too.
And that's another thing. So the ultimate abilities, I think that's something where at least I haven't, with a lot of the FPSs I've played, haven't seen that really utilize the way it is in Overwatch. I mean, the ability to build up your character's super bar, if you will, if you're looking at fighting game terminology. And all of a sudden, you have this game-changing move for every single character that can completely turn the tide of the fight. It really adds depth to the game because it can, your team can be doing well, and then all of a sudden, Hanzo shoots a arrow with ghost dragons that can go through walls and absolutely, one shot most of the characters in the game. So yeah, it's chaotic to say the least, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think that's actually one of the things that, as the beta went on, and definitely as we get into launch here, my view on the ultimates changed. I think, in a beta with 9.7 million players, you figure, a good maybe 8 million of them have never played the game before, just like me, and so the ultimate seemed like this huge deal. It was terrifying when someone used one on me, and I got so excited I couldn't even aim straight when I was trying to use mine. And so I think as the game progresses, I think people are going to kind of change their mindset on it a little bit. I think right now everyone's just trying to get the biggest highlight. They're trying to get 5 or 6 kills with theirs. They're trying to save mercies until they can res all 5 other teammates. But really, I mean, they recharge so quickly. I think we're going to see an evolution of it where if you can get 1 or 2 kills with McCree's High Noon, just go for it. Don't wait for 4 people in one room.
Absolutely. And that's another thing. Everybody can. You can have 2 people playing the same character, and they may play completely different. There's enough abilities on each character to really, kind of customize the character to the way you play. Which actually brings me to my next point, because I know, like you said, in future episodes, we're definitely going to go deeper into the characters. And at that point, the game will already have been released, so we can get a little more playtime with all of them to, go deeper into the character. But I'm seeing a lot of videos and lists online that are like your top 5, top 10 Overwatch characters, and people are really stuck on this idea, and you see it in a lot of games, competitive games, of having a tier list, having a list of what the best characters are versus what the worst characters are, and it's interesting to me because I've never been a huge fan of a tier list. I know that they generally come from who's easier to kill people with, but in a game where the goal of every character isn't necessarily to get that kill death ratio, it's funny how people kind of just glom on to that mindset that you have to have a character who's best, who's the top 5 characters, where I really feel all of these characters are fantastic, and they all have a role that they play, and they all do it very, very well, because you're never going to see Mercy at the top of that list. You're not going to see almost any of the support characters on the top of that list. Yeah, you can do damage with them, but it's just interesting where these ideas of there's one character who's better than another in a game where it's not all about killing people.
Right. Well, again, going back to that, I mean, because they basically changed the goal of the game, the tier list is a joke, in my opinion. I think the character balance is really impressive, and just 2 examples off the top of my head. In the beta, I don't think I played a single game where there wasn't a Bastion on the other team, and 60-70% of the time they were the play of the game, and that's fine. But people are saying that Bastion's overpowered, And I mean, you know, if he's just going to point at a corner and 5 people run around the corner and just run into a line of fire, yeah, he's going to get a lot of kills. But don't tell me that Genji isn't a hard counter to Bastion. I mean, you know, this is another point about this game. You're going to have to character swap. If you just go into a game and decide, I'm going to play Roadhog, and the other team is doing something where you really need the mobility of a Tracer, and you won't switch just because you picked Roadhog at first, I mean, you deserve to lose. So, I mean, the Bastion is overpowered thing, I'm just not buying it. He's powerful, but a lot of characters are powerful. The other thing I saw a lot of with your tier list is that people really don't like Zenyatta and Symmetra.
Yeah, so Zenyatta,
I mean, they're
going
so
back
good
to them,
at what they're meant to do. It's ridiculous. Like I've seen many games where Symmetra is on the nominated list at the end because, you know, for player of the game, and the stat that it lists is how many people they teleported or what their teleporter uptime was. So nobody cares how many kills Symmetra got. Symmetra did a good job because how many teammates got teleported back because of her.
Exactly.
So, you know, the tier list, the character balance, I don't know. I mean, the balance is great. The tier list is a joke.
No, I agree with you. It's funny because, you know, like I said, so much weight on how many kills you're doing, but we're going to completely ignore the ability to instantly transport, you know, your entire team right into the action. And you're telling me that didn't change the flow of battle at all. And I think that's something that you know, you're always going to have your haters in every game. You're going to have people that are just going to complain about characters, like you said for Bastion. I will say, if you're facing people who either don't know what they're doing, aren't familiar with the maps or the characters, or, you know, in my case, just aren't good at the game, you're gonna have you know, you're gonna have them walking straight in and just fighting, you know, head to head, which you just can't do with Bastion. So it's gonna be one of those things where, yeah, if you keep walking into a room, you die, you do it again, you die the same way, and you don't adjust your play style, and then you're gonna go online and complain that a character's overpowered. Yeah, it seems a little ridiculous to me. And I'm not saying that things won't be balanced because, you know, Blizzard obviously is going to listen to the community, but you know, when you're when you're playing the game as a gamer, you're not. That doesn't necessarily mean you're suddenly a game designer and you know how to balance a game. It's like, if people seem too quick to jump to, oh, this character's OP, oh, this character's terrible, and not just figure out a way around it. But
right.
You know, that's besides the point. That's just more, you know, the gamers being gamers, and you're gonna. It's I don't know. Hopefully, a small percentage of people that play are like that, because for the most part, people seem to be. Man, I mean, some of the videos I've been seeing, people seem to be getting very creative with the characters, coming up with great strategies, and for the most part, having fun with the game more so than complaining about you know, broken characters and rules and things like that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It feels balanced to me, but you know,
yeah, I think that what will end up probably happening is that they'll leave it mostly as is until this competitive mode launches. I mean, going back to Blizzard's history with, you know, well, World of Warcraft especially, they always kind of balanced and, you know, buffed and nerfed classes based on what the best of the best were doing, because they would figure out if something was 1% better than it should be, and all of a sudden you've got a raid with 8 rogues or 8 hunters, and, you know, no other damage classes, and Blizzard would take a look at that and be like, maybe that's a problem. So I think the competitive mode will come first, and then, you know, then if we start seeing a 5 Mercy, 1 McCree team, or, you know, 3 Lucio and 3 Winston or something, you know, they'll take a look at that then. But right now I think it's still in the phase where you're right that it, you know, figure it out. There's characters that can pretty much counter everything. Maybe not a perfect 6-man comp, but character for character, there's not one that's unbeatable. So
yeah, I'd have to agree with you, definitely.
So yeah, I mean, as far as you know, where it goes from here, I mean, what do you think? Are there any game modes that you'd like to see? Any character niches that you think haven't been filled? You think we're going to get some items like Super Smash Brothers? What do you think?
Geez, it's really hard to say. I mean, there's the game as it is right now. There's just, for me, so much that's been unexplored, so much to try. Where I don't even necessarily want another game mode. If they have when they have the more competitive mode or a deathmatch type mode, personally, I probably just won't be big into that because one of the things I really enjoy about the game right now is just that team aspect and working together and filling a role and really working that way. But I don't know. I think. I think I would definitely like to see, right now, what do we have? We have two objective modes. It's pretty much protecting a base and then pushing the payload. Maybe more objective-based modes, beyond that. Maybe, another 2 to 3 modes.
Yeah, there's 3 right now, technically, because there's the payload, and then there's the point A and point B capture, and then there's the neutral point, best of 3.
Okay, got it, yeah.
I could go for a little capture the flag personally. I know it's been done before, but I always enjoyed a good Warsong Gulch capture the flag style.
That would actually be fantastic. I really enjoyed capture the flag in Halo. Maybe they'll have what was that mode where you basically had to hold on to a ball the entire time in Halo, and like you got points ticked up. The longer you held it, so maybe a mode like that where it's basically the other 5 or, I guess in this case, 11 players trying to chase you down as you're trying to like escape them. Although I think Tracer might be best at getting away from people in that sense. I don't know. Just I would love more objective based, though.
Tracer's not allowed to have the flag. That's not fair.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I don't think capture the flag is going to work in this game with Tracer. She breaks all the rules.
Yeah.
Farah.
Yeah, these are problems. They'll work it out.
Yeah, they seem to know what they're doing, Blizzard. So good stuff. Well, yeah, man. Thanks for getting together to kind of start off this podcast. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be exciting to talk about the characters. If you guys want to check out our website, you can always leave comments on iTunes. Give us your feedback, some of your experiences, what you agree with, what you disagree with, maybe something we didn't cover. But like I said, we are going to go more into the character discussions, more in depth in future episodes. You can check us out on oppodcast.com, where you can find our podcast, news, and other Overwatch-related information. You can check out my Twitter. It's at HappyJamOP. And then what's your Twitter?
It's at Trutheder, TRUTHEDER 1.
Awesome, yeah. So you guys can check that out and leave comments and let us know what you think. So, yep, the game at this point, at the time of this recording, is going to be coming out in maybe 4 days. So, pretty excited.
Well, actually, breaking news, they just announced this evening that it's going to be on the 23rd at 4 p.m. Pacific, which is 7 Eastern. So it's going to be Monday night. Yeah, I guess they're doing it when it rolls over to the 24th in London. So that's a win for us.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be having to call out sick that day for work.
Yep, that sounds about right.
All right, man. Well, we'll leave you guys there. Thank you for listening. Check us out, oppodcast.com. And we look forward to talking more in depth about the characters and the game modes and more Overwatch news.